Greetings, gardeners. Fall is rapidly approaching here in Hawaii. It's not the easiest thing in the world to figure out in this environment, but we can tell fall's approaching because the base of the rainbow that forms across the street is gradually shifting to the north. So that means that our axis is tipping, and we can see it by the rainbows here. Most of the rest of you got rainbows too. You got fall leaves, right? Okay, so we all got rainbows. We can also tell because the coffee is getting ripe. We're starting to see coffee cherries turning red in the trees. That's a sure sign. Another sure sign that it's fall here is the dragon fruit is beginning to bloom. Yellow dragon fruit will produce bloom at off times of the year, but the peak season for flowering is in October in the fall. Main crop on this plant is going to come in during the months of February and January. I've been picking some fruit. I have green fruit here. Like I said, it does bloom at off times, but right now we're going to be getting close to where it's just going to explode into flower. Right here I have my oldest plantings of the cactus. They're on posts with wires above, similar to the way we raise grapevine. And then I'd train the trunks onto the wires. It works okay. But as with most things, there's always a better way to do business. Unlike plants like apples and citrus, where humans have been cultivating that fruit for thousands of years. Okay. The dragon fruit, not so much. Dragon fruit has been eaten out of the wild in its native habitat in the Caribbean and Central America for a long time. But the cultivation of the plant is something that's relatively recent. We'll go back a few decades to where we actually started to farm this crop. Vietnam has done a lot of work with learning how to farm it, so is Thailand. Israel, perhaps top of the list, number one as far as creating new varieties of the fruit and so on. Almost everybody that's growing this plant is coming up with a different way to do business. As I said, I started with just plain wooden stakes with wire. I've changed my idea about it. You can see on the stakes I've now added coconut fiber mat around the stakes. I did that because this plant is an epiphyte. It grows on trees. In fact, palm trees are its native habitat in the Caribbean. And so I've used the fiber from coconut hull wrapped around the posts so that the aerial roots of the cactus will adhere to these stakes. I placed a T at the top because I'm going to support the plant on the top of the T rather than on the wires. Right here you can see one where it's already starting, where we have an arm that's come off and is tied to the top of the stake. As time goes on, we'll get more branching, and I'm going to create what looks like a weeping cherry tree or a dragon tree here on the stake. Whereas this cactus will grow out in full sun, I realized a while ago that it seemed healthier and happier when it had a little bit of shade. So I've now moved it towards my house where there's a little bit of shelter behind the shrubs here. I've also put it where it's not going to get as much rainfall under the eave. And then we have some issues with root knot nematode here, and so recently I'd spawned a mushroom, the Winecap stropharia, which eats nematodes, and so I've begun cultivating a fungus in the soil underneath my dragon fruit. Like I say, everybody that does this has their own idea on how it's going to go about, and since we've only started cultivating the plant in recent history, it's wide open country. It's kind of like a wild west of fruit growing, and this is one of my favorite places. I love the edge. There are so many different varieties. It's so exciting. I've been collecting them. Right here I've got a whole group of the yellow ones. That's my favorite. Solanacereus megalanthus, or some people are referring to it as Hylocereus megalanthus. Take your pick. This is a yellow-skinned sweet, very, very sweet form that has spines on the fruit. Over here I have a whole bunch of seedling plants grown from an orange fruited dragon fruit. I believe this is probably also Solanacereus, probably Megalanthus, but instead of the yellow colored skin on the fruit, it's got an orange colored skin. Fruit appears to be a little bit smaller. We'll see how it does here, but so far it's growing equally as well as the yellow form. Right over here I've got some more conventional forms of dragon fruit. These are red-skinned and pink-skinned forms. They come off my buddy Greg's dragon fruit farm down near Kapoho. These are the forms that he was raising when he was in the dragon fruit business. Seeds originally came in out of Thailand. He'd reselected from seed, and so I'm calling these varieties Greg Star and Kapoho Sweet. The red and yellow varieties, which are common in the supermarket, are really not the best tasting. They ship well and so on, but they really seem to lack sugar and character from my point of view. I have them here mostly because I intend to use them in hybridization experiments where I'll cross the different forms. The red and yellow types also take a lot longer to come into production. From seed or from cutting, maybe I can get the yellows into production in maybe a year and a half. From a seed, maybe 2 years to 2.5. The pink and the red forms take me 5 to 6 years to actually get production out of them. So I'm not as interested in them. Right over here I've got a whole flat full of a really interesting new introduction. This is called Desert King. It was bred in Israel. The plant is the cross between the yellow dragon fruit, which has a delicious sweet flavor, and a purple flesh dragon fruit from Costa Rica, Hylocereus costaricensis. So it gives you a sweeter fruit that has a purple color, and it is a little bit acidic, so you've got this nice balance of sugar and acid. I'm kind of excited about this one. It's new to me. So while experimenting with this fruit, I also decided that I would attempt to grow the plant in situ. The plant enjoys living on tree trunks, and so here I have dragon fruit posted up onto the trunk of a royal palm. Over here I've got dragon fruit cascading through one of the legendary Hawaiian koa trees. This is that beautiful hardwood they use for guitars, ukuleles, and traditionally made canoes from in Hawaii. And the plant is beginning to bloom nicely. We have quite a few flower buds forming across the trunks. And right here is a little bit of that off-season fruit I talk about sometimes. Here we have a royal palm that's growing in the midst of my coffee. You can see right here that it has flower blossoms coming out all over the dragon fruit on this. So we not only have the royal palm surrounded by coffee, but then at the base of the dragon fruit, what do we see but pineapples? Here we have a situation where we're successfully growing palm in the midst of a coffee field, which is hanging with the dragon fruit, growing in a naturalized type habitat. And then at the base, nice pineapples beginning to ripen out, growing all the way around the bottom of the palm. Got one right there that looks like it's getting pretty ripe. So here's a permaculture approach to agriculture. Down growing across the understory, the ground cover in here is Okinawan purple sweet potatoes. So we have sweet potatoes at ground level, followed by pineapples, followed by coffee and dragon fruit, and then followed by koa trees and palm trees and other tropical fruits as the top story in this planting. It's all working pretty well together here. Now for the part you all been waiting for. I can hear you saying out there, but Bill, how can you possibly go ahead and talk about dragon fruit without letting us taste some? So I guess it's time we get in here. First thing we got to do with this variety is sweep off the spines. And so I'm going to use a little scrub brush here to clean this guy up so he gets friendlier and I can touch him. Get out the old pruning shears. Let's remove him from the cactus. There we go. Here we have Selenocereus megalanthus, aka Hylocereus megalanthus, also known as yellow dragon fruit. Well, we got the pine swept off, so he's nice and safe. First thing I'm going to do is cut off this end because that's a little hard. And go around the back side. And I'm going to cut the back side off. There we go. Now that opens the fruit up nicely so that I can take a knife, come around it like this, and cut this baby clean in two. Oh man, look at it. It is just dripping. This is so gorgeous. Oh my goodness. And then see, the flesh will just pop clean out of the skin like that. Oh man. Oh. That is so delicious. Absolutely. Man, for a little guy that's got spines all over the outside trying to keep us away, the interior is just incredible. Oh. So the other half of this here, I'm going to take it back to the house and kind of extract some seeds. So if there's anybody out there who's looking for dragon fruit seed, I'm heading back into that business again. Aloha. Have a wonderful day. Happy gardening. Eat and grow more dragon fruit.